Welcome back. We're still on to Daybreak Africa this lovely Monday morning, and we're on to the interview segment. And on the interview segment today, we want to look at the NLC TUC strike. That's the matter arising in that particular segment. Now, what is exactly happening? And so we have a politician rather, and a political analyst, Folarin Joseph, in the studio to handle this.
Thank you very much.
Folarin, I want to ask you from the perspective of a politician. You understand what is exactly happening? Why is the Labour Congress and the TUC, the trade union, going back and forth on the issue of strike? Is it just to, make people feel that they are working or they are trying to do something, and yet we continue to remain in the same stand of not registering an opinion to the government?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the usual still boils down to perception, because oftentimes when you meet with them, the labor leaders, when negotiation fails between the two parties, that is the government and the labor leaders, of course, the last resort is always strike. And Nigerians have been complaining over the years that, this strike, making noise, issuing press statement about threat of a strike has not, Labour has failed to even be firm, by holding forth and ensuring that the state agreement or the terms for the calls for strike are addressed by the government. But what we all normally see over the years, for the past few years now, is that, okay, whenever a strike notice is issued, the government will already call the labor leaders for a meeting and make promises. Of course, the promises might not be fulfilled, but at that moment they're making several promises just to ensure that, okay, the planned strike is neutralized or is rescinded by the Labour Party. I think more needs to be done by the labor leaders, because they need to recognize the enormous power they wage, because Labour controls the economy and they pride themselves as the wealth creator.
But don't you think they're taking advantage of that situation? Because looking at it now, in every other country, when we talk about industrial action,
yes, sir,
it has power. So many people are of the opinion that maybe it's just like a mother threatening a child. Stop that, don't do that, I will beat you, I will beat you.
That's right.
And then they get to that point, the next thing you hear that they have been called for negotiations and they all come out smiling. So don't you think that they're abusing this particular industrial action? Because now it just feels like an empty threat.
Yeah, it is seen, as you rightly pointed out, that it's more like the strike option is always being abused, coming to the public, issuing statement that, oh, we are going on strike on the particular day, and within few hours after meeting with the government delegation, and the strike option is rescinded. Of course, it shouldn't be. I think it's being abused. Yes, oftentimes because governments make frivolous promises without meeting up. And again, when you call them again to meeting again, you make return promises again. And I feel labor leaders need to reflect on their actions over the years, and again take a different approach to engaging the government. Okay, if you are taking a stand, be firm until reasonable actions, reasonable changes is seen or is being implemented by the government. So it's not enough for you to for government to make some promises to you without seeing the effects, without seeing visible, tangible outcomes.
But they keep making the same mistakes. And then let's look at it from this particular aspect that, okay, now the effect of the strike, when we talk about labor, it controls the whole sector of the economy.
That's right.
When it happened at Imo State,
they
cancelled people's flights.
That's right.
Lights went out.
That's right.
Before you know it, when the nationwide one happened, it affected ASUTU also had to go on strike. So many people, so many children, students in school have had to stay for several months, several years because of this particular strike. And now looking at even the same Imo State where Ajero was assaulted, not all of them complied to the strike.
Yeah,
some other places comply, some other people do not comply. So it was not looking like, okay, there is no unity or uniformity in labor. We don't seem to understand what's going on.
Yeah, I think that is another key issue. But so sometimes when NLC want to go this way, TUC might want to go this way, and then even within them also there's no unity of purpose also. And then when there is this, division, of course, government feels comfortable with that because they feel that okay, yeah, when the strike notice is announced again, and after the first day, the government through their media aides will make mockery of the plan action that, yeah, you see that the compliance level, yeah, across the union member affiliated under the NLC or TUC is on the low side, and so that tells you that there's sort of division. Of course, these are the issues. Yeah, I think it's still down to the kind of leadership and selection within the labor. Okay, there also, what kind of leaders do they push forward to present their demands, to protect their interests while negotiating with government? I think they need to be thorough in the selection process, in picking leaders who their word will be the bond. When they say one, it is one, and when any agreement with government, and if any section is violated or is being exempted, they will stand firm in ensuring that this there is thorough implementation of this set agreement between government and the labor leader. I think more needs to be done on the part of the labor unions. They need to really reflect on their past action and draw lessons, and also take a different approach in engaging government. Yes, our government, they make so much promises here and there, and it's not enough for you to make promises. How you go about implementing it.
Couldn't they have gone to court to figure out what to sort out their differences?
Yeah, yes.
For the negotiations. For
the negotiation. Oftentimes when they approach the industrial court to seek redresses on these issues, it takes a lot of time. Because
so the strike is the one that calls more attention.
Yes, to them they feel okay, yeah, that could give them and that could give the public and the government public pressure being mounted on the government to sit down with them again to table their demands and ensure that, okay, probably one or two agreement might be reached out of this.
I am finding it really, because I've listened to all you have said, and it's more like a defense of what the Labour Party is doing presently. And, and I find it, yes, not Labour Party, the NLC and the TUC are doing presently right now. And I'm sorry for that. Because this concerns a more larger group, the Nigerian populace. It is not just the Nigerian workers, the Nigerian population. The rest of the guys who are not in the working class, who are not in that. I'm in the private sector, so I am supposed to be with Labour, but I am not really affiliated to them.
Any of the union.
To any of the union, because I'm not in the public sector. Okay. Now, but they need to account for me. Account for also that man or that woman who is selling in one shop or the other out there, because everybody is a Nigerian, and their fight is always for everybody, except if they want to see it as so our fight is just for those who are working in the federal government parastatals or in the state government parastatals. Then we know that they are now into that, because presently there is an issue on ground, a heavy issue on ground that needs to be addressed. And so people are now beginning to see that organization as an organization that is not serious in no way of fighting for them or fighting for anything. Because they come here, they make a pronouncement, oh, we're going to, and then people are anticipating, they're already preparing that, okay, something is going to happen. Absolutely. And all of a sudden they call it off. And then they said, okay, we are negotiating with negotiations with the federal government. And then for a week or 2 weeks, they don't hear anything. After like 3 weeks, another threat comes to the federal government. It seems it is just like the federal government has a puppet. You understand? It's the one that controls everything, and then jingle it and say, when they are looking at you, say, look, oh yeah, you guys go and do something, threaten us. Let's just say. So what is the main aim of NLC? Why should they have involvement with state governments and federal government? Why shouldn't they be independent? Yes, they come from all these other arms. Definitely. But why shouldn't they operate independently so that there will be an effective impact of their activities on the federal government? Because I see them as those who are supposed to always balance things. When it looks as if the other body there is not doing well, then they shake it up and balance it and say, see, this is how it's supposed to work. Why is that not happening?
Yeah, I think like, let me come back to your question. Like you rightly said, that it should be an independent body. And you and I know that there are some federal issues where federal government can intervene. Likewise, states. You know that education falls under the concurrent list, so which states and then federal can. Likewise, health also. So but economy, yeah, falls under the central government, which is the federal government. There are these issues about tabling demand on issues that affect the whole generality of the public. I think that's why I said earlier on that there need to be a soul searching, within the NLC as a union, reflect on their actions, that the issues they are pushing to the public burner, to the front burner at the moment. I mean, is this can we call it a selfish demand? Secluding the larger part of the public, of the masses. Are we just all about ourselves? Okay, all about workers' demands, workers' pay, workers' increment in workers' salary, severance, gratuity. I think there's a need for them to be to do much more, because even presenting policy issues is very, very important. Also, how they view the economy, let's say the extractive industry, the manufacturing. So there's a need for them to collaborate and present robust engagement with government. Yes, there's a there's a place for strike, but there's a need for thorough engagement. So robust engagement, again, we galvanize the public behind them also, and then if they can now, because if you look around now, see the pulse of the people now. People are really people are tired of their shenanigans as far as I'm concerned.
Yes,
yes. So there's a need for them to bring a policy that affects the everyday Nigerians, to get the public behind them also. I think the earlier the better for them, because they even need if there's a case of like this Juajero assault. Most of there are divided views over that. What was he doing there at that moment? I should have gone there. So of course, if it was presenting a issues that affect every Nigerian, of course the public pressure will be more behind them. I think the divided opinion over them led to the suspension of this guy. I think if there was massive public pressure, of course, the several issues can be tabled before the government, like the oil subsidy issue, and also the cost of living condition at the moment here, because it's a whole lot of issues. Because yes, Juajero was attacked. What about everyday Nigerians who are brutalized every day? We don't hear NLC talk about it. NLC was silent during the NSAS saga in 2020. So these are the issues why the public are not so really in support of their struggles.
Let's do a bit of assessment
Yes.
for the NLC. Let's look at their duties and if they are doing this well. They're meant to look out for the welfare of workers. That's right. You just mentioned that rightly now that they were not involved in the NSAS and all that things. So now, would you say that they have been doing a good job as that particular office has been given to them, or how well do you think they can improve their services to Nigerian citizens?
Yes. As a last week, I was reading a report by Budget or something that even the present minimum wage of 30,000, over 15 states are yet to implement it. And so I think that calls for question on that is an indictment on the NLC leadership for failing their primary responsibility in even holding the state governors accountable. And the 15 states governors who have failed to. I think these are the issues there. Something is really, really wrong with the leadership. From the outside, you can say the leadership have compromised. Well, because you are primarily elected to serve, to promote the interests of your workers under your umbrella body. I think they haven't done much. More needs to be done on the part of the NLC leadership. And if the union members feel they are not living up to expectation, of course they can call for a congress and elect fresh hands who can even pursue their mandate, their demands with rigor and so much commitment. Because for no reason should the NLC leadership be so docile over workers' demand, over workers' living condition, over gratuity payment, pension arrears. And it shouldn't be, of course, because their primary reason for being in office is to serve their interests, and their interests must be up and foremost at all times.
I want to answer this thing now. You talked about engagement.
Yes.
Now, the NLC, the TUC, you know, when it comes to the supplementary budget was read, and, you know, we saw the humongous amount. And again, when we saw the things that is going to be spent on ridiculous items, is there not supposed to be some form of collaboration in looking at government policies, the right policies that should work before it even gets to the National Assembly or to the Senate? Shouldn't there be a collaboration between the federal government and the NLC and TUC on what should be tabled before the National Assembly to be approved or not to be approved concerning the citizenry? Because everything in the budget concerns the citizen.
Yes, like you rightly put it, I think ideally that's how it ought to be. And robust engagement is not an event, it should be an ongoing event. Yeah, engaging the government on issues like on the supplementary budget. I didn't see any robust response from the government, from the labor unions. I was expecting at least presenting, thoroughly scrutinizing this, calling a town hall meeting and engage each of the items, the budget line one by one, and the figures attached to each of the items. I think we didn't see that. I think it's still boiled down to intellectual rigor. It's lacking in the NLC leadership. I think that needs to be improved upon. Of course, maybe you can get some of these consultants to even build up some of their members to be economic, vibrant, in analyzing government policy, in dissecting some of these issues and the ripple effect of some of these policies on each of the sector, namely the transport, maritime, the manufacturing industry, education, health, and other industry. I think that is lacking now, the lack of intellectual rigor in engaging government with data, empirical data, and that is enough to even gain public support. Because when you engage government and you make this engagement easier for the common, the masses to even understand government policies on every segment of the economy, I think that needs to be improved upon on the part of the NLC leadership. Because for now, they are not living up to the expectation as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, now let's look at the side of the government. I know you mentioned earlier that whenever they call for strike, and then the government comes and makes a promise, and then they go back again, they don't fulfill their promise. Now, are we going to say that does the government see NLC as a joke? Or are we going to say that maybe most likely whatever they are fighting for, it's not of value to the government, or it's not, the government don't think that is necessary? Because if I keep, it's just like, for example, sorry, if I'm married to someone, I keep threatening to divorce you, and I say, if you don't change your character, I'm going to leave. And you keep promising to change, you don't change, meaning you want the divorce to happen.
I think for more education, to me, that is the perception. If I'm the government, I will see NLC as a joke, because when they make noise in the media about calling for a strike, and if I put a call across to them, I'll call them for a meeting, I'll make promises, and of course after a few months again, the same issue again. So
for them it's just like, leave this cockroach. It is always disturbing.
Attention seekers,
they're always seeking an attention.
So they just want they want to impress their member that we are really on top of the matter. But of course we know that there's no effect, there's no tangible results in the negotiation over the years. I think it still boils down to the credibility of the leadership of the labor leaders. They need to do more for their leader.
Now, how are labor leaders elected, or are they appointed, or are they elected into such offices, or are they people who come through government ranks to be labor leaders? And then still fight the same governments that they are coming from.
Like the present NLC president, the person of Comrade Joe Ajero, representing the Nigerian Union of Electricity Employees. So it's always rotating between the north and south. The previous one was Ayuba Waba,
yes.
So from the northern extraction. So now is the southern extraction. There's always nomination, and one is the time for the south. Of course, then the union will nominate within themselves, and of course there will be political engagement. So of course, and they will go to the poll, and the majority will be announced as the winner. So it boils down to the quality of union members. Yes, yeah.
The quality of those who have been appointed to contest.
Yes, of course. Like we have in Nigeria, so the kind of people will turn out through the.
So already we could have a defeat.
Yes.
You know, by the kind of person who is coming, who has been appointed,
yes.
and who appoints this person, who has been elected to go for that particular position. And so the people who actually elect this person are those who are probably, you know, already in the system.
Yes, the union members.
The union members who also have affiliations, political affiliations to different parties and all of them, or whatever you say it is. And so they come together, and then it becomes a political activity, a small political activity that seems to be a bit politicized. And that's why probably Ajero was called a Labour Party member. Yeah,
you can't rule that governors through their process trying to sponsor a candidate that could.
Because I see it as if they are supposed to come from the workers' union, they are all just supposed to be workers.
Yes,
working for a particular organization
that's right.
on merit.
That's right.
And then should come through that rank, and then get you know, elected after winning an election. You know, but if they are coming through the rank of, say, this person, you know, a godfather pinpointing this particular person to run for that particular position, because it's a large position.
Of course, money exchange.
It's a money, and money will be exchanged. And so that means that the person who gets there will not bite the finger that actually puts
absolutely
them there.
So these are one of the issues also. That's why sometimes government will see them sometimes engaging and calling these guys their noisemakers are back again, or seeking for attention. So of course we'll see some of these things, because if you even witness some of their election, or you look at the violence that characterize some of this election process, you ask that is it worth it? Why the desperate mood of these actors? Is it really worth it just to serve the interests of your unions? Why do you have to unleash violence on one another? So that tells you that there's so much more within them, and there are some forces and interests who really want they are choosing candidates to lead the union.
Lastly, from the results of the last discussion that we had with the NLC, they pointed out that it's a temporary suspension of the strike, pending when again their needs will not be met. Then they will come back again and make noise. And make noise. They will come back again. So I want us to look at this aspect now, away from every other thing, because personally I had somebody that was meant to fly to Imo States when that stuff happened to Ajero, and then everything was cancelled. It has effect on a lot of people. Now let's look at it from the citizens' perspective. What do you think could be done? Like, let's say we're trying to advise NLC. What can we do to make things better? What are the other steps, other means that we can go or we can take to ensure that we get what we want, but then we're not being ridiculed, or the strike industrial action is not being abused? We're not just inconsiderate and not thinking of how it's going to affect every other person and the economy at large. What can we do?
Yeah, I think the other route that needs to be explored more is the legal process. I think it's sad that.
But they won't be guarded, because even when Ajero came out for the protest, it was said that there was a court order that they shouldn't go on protest. But the TUC leader said that it was intermittent, that so it had expired at that point. So that was why Ajero was free to come out. So does it even look like they honor it?
Yeah, it still boils down to the present system we have at the moment. When the executive brazenly violate court orders, of course, setting a dangerous precedent for others also. Because listening to the TUC president during the week also, he was justifying why they will disobey the restraining order issued by the National Industrial Court last week Friday. That oftentimes there was a court order calling the executive, the EFCC, the State Securities Service, which is an agency under the executive, to release Godwin Emefiele, the former CBN governor, but they violated it also. Yeah. So it's trying to justify the action. I think this is really depressing to see that our institutions are being abused, are being looked. The appropriate word to use now, are being not giving their pride or place, of course, because whenever there's an absence of rule of law in any society, the substitute is chaos and disorder. But that's why the court is there to, whenever any party feels aggrieved, you should approach the court to seek redress. And sadly, when you start disobeying and justifying why you are violating court order, I think it doesn't all go well for a democratic society, and for both parties, and they need to do things differently going forward.
Well, anyway, Folarin, we want to thank you for coming on the program by this lovely morning. It's great having you, though we cannot but we can't continually say that NLC is not trying. They are trying it, but for me, I think there should actually be a reform within that particular group, so that it affects the whole of the country positively now. And maybe what we have discussed here today, the federal government, one way or the other, through their medias, will listen to it and maybe take a stand. Or the NLC too takes some kind of a cue from what we have been talking about. They should fight for the main things. What exactly is troubling Nigerians, the problems for Nigerians. So thank you so much for coming on the program.
Pleasure.
And we're still in Nigeria. We'll see some other time.
Right.
So anyway, we'll go for a very short break now. We'll be right back to give you more.